Well, we'll leave him in the background for a minute. Okay, so first of all, I just want to explain, what this is all about for those that don't know or just discovered this. So we're calling this Wealthy Wednesdays. And really the idea is just to talk about two topics, health and wealth. And wealth can be a lot of different things, which has to do with health, right? Feeling wealthy is also just being healthy. So where it came from was a couple months ago, I got invited to a really cool dinner. I was invited by an architect in town that knows me, and I've referred him some business. And so he had dinner at his office, and there was 12 or 15 people there, and it was a chef brought in, and I don't know how he cooked because there's no kitchen there, but it was like a really well-cooked meal. But this guy spoke on the topic of the anti-retirement club. And the whole concept of being in an anti-retirement club is the fact that people are learning to live a lot longer. Like he's talking about living to 150 years old. So, but obviously, if you're going to be living to 150 years old, you want to be healthy, right? You don't want to be old and sick. You probably want to be financially stable or wealthy. Who wants to be broke and old? And you want community, right? You want to be around people so you can have life and enjoy life. So that was that concept. And I thought, you know what? This is so relevant to what this club here is all about, which is a whole wellness center that if you guys, by the way, if you want to tour it at the end, around 1:30, just raise your hands if you want to see what this facility is. They're not selling you anything. It's just a free tour. But just raise your hand if you think you want to tour it, if you have time for 5 or 10 minutes to go look at it. Okay, just want to get a head count. So we thought we'd just combine these two together and just bring in really smart people that know a lot about health or about improving your business. Today we have two amazing people, and we brought them in digitally. So you'll see them up here in a minute. And so that's what really this is all about, just to help you think about ways you can improve your health so you can live a long time and ways to do your business better or make more money. So without further ado, I'm going to give an introduction to Chris. So get ready for a game-changing session. We're bringing in Chris DeVecchio, a high-performance coach, entrepreneur, and health strategist. Can you make him bigger on the screen? Switch those two out. Who's been featured on Good Morning America, Men's Health, the New York Post, and KTLA Morning News. He's known for helping high achievers build a body that matches their ambition. He walks the talk. He made headlines by coaching a professional poker player to win the biggest weight loss bet in history, a $1.2 million transformation, going from 33% body fat to under 10% in 6 months. So with 30 years of experience, Chris has coached executives, athletes, industry leaders. This dude is smart. So this thing goes on, but I just want to say I hired Chris a few years ago to help me with a transformation and had such great experience with him. He's helped probably, I don't know, dozens now of other great real estate people that I know across the country. And he helps them remotely. He holds you accountable. He teaches you everything about your body, your health. He's an amazing man of knowledge. So we are now going to get him on the full screen. You're a little man right now, Chris, so give me a second. Oh, there you are. Hey. So, welcome, Chris DeVecchio. You now have the room. You have a sold-out crew in here, all excited to hear somehow that they can improve their lives in some manner. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. Great to see so many people that are interested in health and wealth. I think this is a great initiative and mission that you're trying to pull together. I know there's at least one other person in the audience, Nancy, I think, that has worked in the program, is currently working in the program. Is there anybody else who's been in the program that's in the audience that I can't see? If you are, raise your hand. No, I think it's only
Not
me
yet.
and you.
No one admitting it.
Well, anyways, thanks all for joining today. Ed, thanks for having me. So, as he said, I've been in the health and wellness space for over 30 years, coaching high level performers all around the world who think with an ROI mindset. And I teach them and coach them on how to turn their health into a competitive edge. And one of the things that is important in order to do that is that it's imperative that you don't just focus on the outcome and the end result, but rather you find a way to fall in love with the process. And two of the ways that helped me kind of fall in love with the process early on in my life were really what created the inspiration for me to just set off on this trajectory in the health and wellness space. At 16 years old, I was misdiagnosed with childhood leukemia. And fortunately, it was only a couple days. It was some doctors that misread some blood work. But at 16 years old, even for a day to think that my mortality is sitting in my hands, that's enough to kind of scare you to thinking and taking your health extremely seriously. And so, things turned around quickly after they had a fourth opinion, and fortunately, it worked out well for me. But did at that age just really inspire me to want to take my health into my own hands, start prioritizing and educating myself on nutrition and exercise and supplementation and blood work and et cetera. The second event, I played Division I college hockey. I was on skates since I was 5 years old. So playing sports was a big part of my life. And I thought that potentially I had a chance to go pro. So keeping my body in tip-top shape, strong, healthy was a really important initiative. Going into my sophomore year of college, my coach had told me if I didn't come back to school with, 20, 30 pounds of muscle, that I probably wasn't going to play because I was getting knocked around quite a bit playing with a lot older guys in college. So that's freshman year, summer, I went home and put on 30 pounds of muscle in 3 months. And that was the first time that I really took fitness seriously and took supplementation and nutrition seriously in terms of gaining size and strength, and realize how easy it is to manipulate your body if you give your body the right resources and information and you apply science to the process. So those two events really helped to kind of lay the foundation for me as I was going into the early stages of my adolescence. And I was starting to think about, I'd rather pay for my health than pay for my illness. And, at that time when I was 16 too, sort of realized that just because I was in great shape does not qualify me to be in great health. And that distinction created this concept called the 1 verse 23 method, that the 1 hour a day we spend in the gym is far less impactful than what we do with the other 23 hours of the day. Because the gym is a place that we go to build strength. The other things we do outside to build health correlate around nutrition, exercise, sleep, supplementation, stress management, organization, content that we consume, people we surround ourselves with. All of that really plays into our health. And why that's important in particular for real estate agents is because knowing your industry, there is every opportunity for excuses to come up that you just don't have enough time. You run a very high stress business where clients are hitting you up constantly. You could have your day completely planned out, and next thing you know, you got a fire drill happening in a moment's notice. So if you're only associating health with the gym, then it's very easy for you to fall out of the health mindset, as opposed to if you understand that the other things that you can do to really move the needle on your health around nutrition, sleep, stress management, organization, things of that nature. You have a lot of things that you can do to actually execute on your health and not solely rely on the gym and let things fall apart for you. If you think about it, think about like professional athletes, they spend a lot of time practicing their skill set. They're in the gym strengthening their bodies. But if they don't show up with proper nutrition and proper sleep and recovery, it's absolutely going to affect their performance in their sport and whatever they're doing come game day, whatever that might be. And so as I was transitioning out of athletics and kind of moving into the real world, I started to, think about, well, I'm no longer an athlete in terms of playing hockey, but business became my sport, which made me a business athlete. And so everything that I do in my life in terms of how I eat, how I sleep, how I train, how I supplement, how I rest and recover, all of that is commensurate with how I want to show up and unlock my peak performance in my business. Very, very critical correlation there. And so, I want to share what I consider to be the 5 principles for success of what I think bridges the gap between business, athletics, and entrepreneurship. So you can start to learn how to make this peak performance as part of a lifestyle and part of your DNA and not just a moment in time. So, number one principle is discipline beats motivation, both in the gym and in the boardroom. Showing up consistently, even when you don't feel like it, that's what distinguishes success from failure. Number two, recovery is non negotiable. Whether it's recovering after a tough game or after a high stakes meeting, proper sleep, nutrition, and stress management, these are the things that are going to keep you performing at your absolute best. Number three, the power of a playbook. Athletes rely on game plans, entrepreneurs need systems. Having a structured approach to your day makes the chaos much more manageable. Number four, adaptability is key. No game or business strategy survives unchanged. Learning how to pivot on the fly and on being flexible, that's where resilience is really built. And number four and number three really go hand in hand together. If anybody in the audience here has ever had moments where you've really had great structure to your day and you have a few things drop on your plate inadvertently, it's much easier to move things around and slot the new activity that dropped on your plate into what you're doing versus if you don't have that infrastructure set up, it makes it very chaotic and stressful for you to know how to call an audible and make some simple adjustments. So those two are really, really critical. And the fifth principle is your team matters, both on the field and in business. You're only as strong as the people you surround yourself with, so you better make sure you're choosing teammates that help elevate your performance. And with all of the entrepreneurs that I've worked with all around the world, the biggest blind spot that I've seen is that they fail to see the number one revenue generating investment they can make is in their health. Because improving your health helps to magnify your skill sets and it provides a mental bandwidth that allows you to reallocate that energy and that creativity and that focus back into driving your business and in the quality of your life. I've seen many people in the program who have come in with different types of health crises that they're dealing with, and it's very difficult for them to pour into their business, pour into their clients, pour into their family, pour into their personal goals because they're spending so much time ruminating throughout the day on being scared, concerned, going to doctor's appointments, online on ChatGPT or Google, trying to search, figure out what's going on with their symptoms. Not having your health in order eats up a ton of bandwidth mentally, emotionally, and physically. And so making those investments, there's 3 main drivers that I think can help you secure and improve that investment in your health. Number one is mastering the art of saying no. And that might sound a little funny because no seems like it has a negative connotation, but in this case, what we're talking about is not over leveraging your time. So when you're saying no to things that don't move the needle in as it relates to your own personal goals or business goals, what you're saying yes to is yourself. You're saying yes to not over leveraging and spending your time because that's the equivalent of keeping your foot pinned on the gas and never shifting through gears or ever using the brake. And if you're all gas and no brake, there's only 2 outcomes and they're not great. One of them is you run out of gas and burn out, or 2, you crash into something. And usually it's when we're waiting, when we hit those 2 critical points that finally people step up and do something. So it makes sense to try to mitigate getting to that threshold if learning how to shift through the gears and learning how to say no to things that don't really move the needle in your goals and make sure that you're saying yes to making sure you're managing and time allocating much better as it relates to what you're focusing on. The second main driver is what do you stand for? We also call this integrity, right? This helps you develop a set of standards that becomes your identifier. It's how you identify yourself and it's how others identify you. So you better understand and know what you stand for and make sure that that's aligned with what you say you want. too often I see people not reach personal goals or business goals because they say they want something, but then they don't hold themselves to it. They don't set out to reach that goal. There's too much compromise. There's too much wiggle room, and therefore they start to fall out of integrity and self-worth with their goals, and therefore the standards start to drop. So really understanding and knowing what you stand for and holding yourself to that high standard can really elevate the game in terms of your health and your wealth. And the last driver is make an unbreakable agreement with yourself. When anybody comes into my program, we form a metaphorical LLC. And the LLC is the client, it's you. And so you've hired me as the CEO to look at and handle the overall big picture of what we're trying to focus on for the company. And you are the COO, the Chief Operating Officer. And in the real world, if the COO is not executing and performing, what happens? That's it. You're out. You're fired. We bring in a new COO who can actually get the job done. So same mindset here is that, and how it aligns with setting yourself up with a high standard is if you make these agreements with yourself and hold yourself to that standard, we have a much better outcome in terms of how you show up, that integrity, that self-worth, how people see you and identify you, how you identify with yourself. All of these things sort of play back into these positive feedback loops that drive the high levels of peak performance in that business athlete mindset. The last thing I'll just touch on is that what we do daily ultimately determines who we become. Nearly everything we do in our life compounds over time, whether it's positive habits or negative habits. And your habits are the silent architects of your life. So if you are envisioning or speaking about how you perceive your life or how you want your life to be, and it's not really aligning with how it actually is, I encourage you to think in terms of getting a little bit more self-awareness around what are some of the daily habits, even some of the quiet habits that may be sort of operating in the background that are driving this outcome and architecting these parts of your life, because they don't just show up out of nowhere, right? So for example, I'll give you a quick example. Like when I work with clients, one of the things we focus on as it comes to fitness is working on posture. And most people don't realize how they sit throughout the day at a desk, or how they sit in the car, or certain ways that they stand. And so if you're not aware of how you're sitting at a desk, and you're sitting there for 7 or 8 hours and your shoulders are rolled up into your ears, you don't understand and realize that that's slowly starting to build in and bake into your posture, where the body will just start to adapt to those positions because you're training the body to hold that position, as opposed to being mindful and aware of, let me sit up a little straighter, get my shoulders down and back, don't push my head forward to look at the screen, keep my chin a little bit more aligned, engage my core a little bit more. Now you're consciously architecting the body, the posture, the synergy of how you want to look, feel, and function. So I'm going to end it right there, because I could go on for hours talking about all these things that I'm extremely passionate about. But I prefer to really get into the heads of what you guys are thinking, questions, concerns.
Let me jump in with that, Chris, because we want this room to be more like a mastermind group, right? Just coming together and learning from each other, or people like Chris. It's always nice when they're live in person. He's live on digital TV. But I want you to think right now, like if you had a one-on-one session that you can speak comfortably in public about, let's grab his attention now and ask those questions. So please think about something now. But Chris, I want to start out with a question. You said 1 versus 23. There's 23 hours in a day left over if you're going to the gym, right? But if let's just say we're not programming up, right? We're just like, we're going to do this. I'm committed. I'm going to improve something. I mean, what are we looking at during the day? Like 2, 3 things that we should be consciously thinking about, because you hear drink a gallon of water or sleep 8 hours and those type of things. But what are you coaching people right now that says, do these 3 things If you don't have a trainer, you're not a member of a gym, just do these 3 things. See, these are the absolute musts that you should fit into your day.
Yeah, it's a great question. And, to your point, look, there's a million things you could be doing that could add tremendous value to your health and wellness. But the reality is that most people need to take a small bite to gain some evidence to start getting some momentum. And so I usually recommend, especially on when I have an opportunity to speak to a large group like this, is if there's something that catches your attention in this seminar, just try making one shift and implementing it for 30 days. Don't try to take on the whole world and like change your workout regimen, change your diet, change your sleeping habits. There's a lot of things you could be doing, but just try to pick one thing, just take a bite out of that for 30 days, really commit to 30 days and just give yourself a chance to gain some evidence, which will ultimately start to build that habit. Because until I could tell you all the things in the world, but none of it really registers or connects until you actually experience it and feel it and see it yourself. So with that being said, I think one of the main things I really try to emphasize right now with my clients across the board is sleep is king. So if you're not somebody who's prioritizing sleep right now, that is something you can do that can have a massive ROI in terms of how you look, feel, and function. Sleep is where we restore, our hormones reset and recharge. Our body goes into this parasympathetic state where everything starts to decompress and downregulate. But sleep is for most people a negotiable luxury. That's how they perceive it. In reality, sleep is a physiological necessity. We need sleep. So the way I look at sleep is the same way I would approach a workout. You wouldn't go into the gym and walk in the front door and go straight to the squat rack and start squatting. Most people go into the gym, you get on the bike and maybe loosen up your legs, get some blood flow going, get the central nervous system prepared for an activity. You might foam roll and stretch a little bit just to get ready for the activity you're about to do. The same way with sleep is that sleep is an activity. And if you try to slam right into sleep, meaning eat dinner really late, knock out some emails, lay in bed, play on your phone, scroll through Instagram, and then put the phone down and try to go to sleep, a lot of times people struggle to sleep and get good quality sleep because the blue light exposure, the stimulus from the screens, the heavy digesting of food too close to bedtime, all of these things, they suppress melatonin, which is the hormone that we need for sleeping, and they stimulate or increase serotonin, which is our stimulating hormone. And so when I ever hear people say that they have an issue with sleep or that they're not good sleepers, a lot of times I encourage them to take a look at what are you doing as a pre-bedtime routine? How are you setting yourself up for good quality sleep? And oftentimes they aren't. So there's a lot of room for improvement there. And I think that if we're looking across the board as like one thing as a takeaway, one of the biggest things you can do is work on prioritizing good quality sleep and developing a good routine that encourages your body to get better sleep just following the science. Of course, nutrition is always an easy lever to pull and say, yeah, just eat better, make better food choices. That's an obvious one. And I think, in all regards and respects, it's an easy one to do, but it's also an easy one not to do. So if you're trying to just find 2 things to kind of test out and just try to have an impact immediately without working with a coach or working within a program, build a better sleep routine and think about what you're doing to encourage better quality sleep. Make sure you're getting 7 to 8 hours, not playing around with your phone too much before bed. Give yourself like an hour or 2 before bed to be off the phones and computers and give yourself like 2 or 3 hours before you go to sleep for eating dinner. And then the other thing is while you're out eating, just make better choices. We don't live in a third world country where it's hard to find better, healthier food. You still have options, right? So if you're going to eat, just make better, healthier choices. I could go down the list of healthy foods, but I think we all have an idea of things that we should be trying to avoid if we're trying to make.
Chris, I'm gonna stop you a second. I want to ask you a question. So, what you're not going to get from him just yet is this guy's a master of the mind. I've worked with him for a number of years, and he would work me out in the gym, sometimes live, sometimes by Zoom. But there were days I'd show up and we never lifted a weight. We talked for an hour. So he's like a therapist, right? But I'm going to ask you a question back on food because we need a hack, right? And what I mean by that is we know we're supposed to make good choices, yet we don't make good choices, right? We allow parties or, invitations to this or that, or the typical realtor where it's 2 o'clock, we didn't eat yet because we were working on deals, putting out fires, and we're starving and we're driving past McDonald's and those fries smell really good. So what is the hack? Because I think, I'm going to ask you to think about, you've had so many clients that have listened to everything you've said, and those are probably the easier ones for you. But you have clients that don't listen to you, right? But maybe you had them break through somehow, some way to just be conscious, more conscious, and making better choices. Because saying make a good choice and actually doing it are two different things. So what is a hack for someone who's not obsessed with eating perfectly right all day long?
Yeah. So I think to start, the first hack is having some food prepared, right? You've got to have some healthy options prepared. You've got to have some sort of system in place that you know you can bring on the road with you. I have clients pick up, call it the adult lunchbox, but it's called a 6-pack meal management bag. It contains, two or three different containers. It's got a slot for your protein shaker. It's got a place you can put your supplements and, just store different foods. It's got ice packs in it. Can sit right next to you in the car. Cooking and learning how to cook and prepare foods in bulk ahead of time and just being able to grab food from your house, having accessibility to the foods because you're more prepared is going to reduce the outcome of not having something available and just having to run for fast food. That would be the first and foremost. The second option, especially for realtors, in your situation, you got to know places out in your territory that have good healthy options that are places you can hit when you're running and gunning, right? As opposed to just choosing a fast food drive-through, burgers, fries, whatever. I mean, you could even pop into Whole Foods. And just an example, right down the street, inside this community where you guys are, the shopping center, there's a Whole Foods. There's Whole Foods all over the place now. They have prepared foods already in the case that you can go in and grab a chicken breast or a piece of salmon or get 3 or 4 ounces of grass-fed steak and get some potatoes and some vegetables or hit the salad bar. Like there are options out there, but you have to learn how to think, act, be, and do like somebody who cares about your health. And that's why I talk about, it's so important to fall in love with the process because if you think about only getting into great shape, like getting a 6-pack, to me, that's a low level stake that creates a lot of pressure, as opposed to thinking about food that I put in my body can either be poison or it could be medicine. And I'd rather put more medicine in my body than poison. So if I spend some time to learn about nutrition or hire somebody to teach me and educate me on nutrition, and I learn how to meal prep and be a little bit more planned and organized, and I get a few tools and resources that help me with that management or organization system. And I know certain restaurants in my area that when I'm out on the road, if I wasn't prepared, I can easily go to and get some healthy food. Then you're ready for battle. And you start to fall in love with that process. Like it feels good to make good choices as opposed to feeling like you have to because somebody said you need to because you're just trying to get a 6-pack. You know what I mean? And oftentimes, like I said, kind of earlier in the presentation, that a lot of times people are waiting for a health crisis to occur before they start to take action on that. And I think what really encourages and inspires people that I see to make better choices with their health and with their nutrition is when they're dealing with high cholesterol or potentially pre-diabetes, or they're on a statin for blood pressure. And you realize there's things I could do to take better care of my body that begins with nutrition. So when I say nutrition could be medicine or poison, I mean that actually. That's not a metaphor and that's not hyperbole. That's literally, I've been able to get people off of blood pressure medication and diabetes medication and cholesterol medication a lot in the years that I've been coaching clients simply by improving their nutrition and their diet and teaching them about how to take better care of their bodies and use food as a way to heal their bodies and get off the medications that are causing a whole host of other symptoms. So meal prep organization and just knowing your environment and what's around you to know where to make good, quick, healthy choices is really the best way to approach that.
Maybe you have a question. I'm going to ask another one, but please raise your hand. Go ahead.
So what I found is, and this is like a recent thing for myself of taking vitamins, trying to make healthy choices, that I went on vacation and basically lost all of the momentum. Like I was a month in, drinking water, like really like staying on top of it. I go on vacation, I come back, and it's like right back where I was before I left.
Yeah.
So what would you recommend to create that consistency when you leave your environment and where you have that structure so you can stay consistent?
So when I have I have clients that travel all the time for work and vacation all the time with their family. This is a common thing. And I guess the first thing is getting yourself into a mindset where you can go on vacation, but your health doesn't take a vacation, right? So you spent all this time front loading really great habits that have produced really great results for you. Then going into your vacation, I'd be thinking about where are some ways that I can maintain some of these habits, give myself some flexibility to enjoy vacation and just enjoy some of the indulgences maybe that I don't typically enjoy when I'm back home in my routine. But you don't go completely off the rails and let it all go. Meaning, if you're going to go on vacation, look for a hotel that has a decent gym so that if you're gone for a week, you can get 3 workouts in while you're gone instead of getting none. 3 out of 7 days is, I think that's a fair compromise, right? That'll be enough to keep you plugged into your routine. It's not gonna move the needle where you're gonna make tons of progress on your vacation, but it can really hold you in that maintenance stage where you stay mentally and physically plugged in. Your body gets some of those metabolic adaptations maintaining while you're gone. And then you think about from a food perspective, just because I'm on vacation doesn't mean that every meal I eat is just a free for all. Like make good choices where you can make choices, set yourself up for creating some balance. Say, look, we're going to this great Italian restaurant tonight, so I'm going to eat healthy by the pool today. Maybe I'll just get a salad with some chicken on it and just keep it healthy because tonight I'm going to have some pasta and I'm having the tiramisu. You know what I mean? And like you find ways to balance that out. Maybe you don't drink every single day on vacation. Maybe you find that balance of, look, I'm going to have a couple days where I'm going to let loose. We're going on a fishing trip that day. I'm going to knock down some drinks while I'm on the boat, or we're having a fun day at a pool party. Like strike that balance. Don't just let yourself have a free for all just because you're on vacation, because you will fall into those peaks and valleys like you just mentioned. I notoriously have clients go on vacation now in the program. They come back and they've lost weight. They feel better. They feel like it was a success. And now they're just obsessed with still maintaining that health momentum while they're on vacation. They get the best of both worlds.
Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely. Can I mention one thing? If anybody doesn't have any questions, one of the things I want to mention, and this might...
I have a question.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on alcohol?
So, to be frank, right? Alcohol, I mean, it has no business in the health space. It's a poison for the body. But the reality is that alcohol, it's just part of our culture. It's part of doing business. We use it to celebrate. Some people use it to escape. Whatever it might be. And I think the best, healthiest approach is to just try to do a self audit and think about being really honest with yourself. Like, how am I using alcohol and how is it serving me? And if you find that, you're using alcohol 5-6 nights a week when you come home after a hard day at work, probably not the best tool, right? I can give you way better stress management strategies and protocols that will have a positive feedback loop for the body versus alcohol, which is going to down regulate your metabolic system. Because when you put alcohol into your body can't, the metabolism can't work. It can't work on building muscle, burning fat. It's got to focus on trying to detox this poison that you just put in your body. And that's the biggest issue with alcohol. It has less to do with the calories It has more to do with like what it actually does to the body and putting it in this mode where it can't prioritize working on anything other than just getting rid of it, right? So, and then also too, when you drink, it lowers your inhibition. So then you start to stack other bad habits on top of it, like let me just go to In-N-Out real quick. I just want a burger and fries. And so you start stacking habits on top of habits. So my thing is, if you're going to drink, just make sure it counts. Make sure it has actual real value. So if you just close a huge deal with a client and you want to celebrate with a glass of wine or a glass of champagne, like absolutely. It's an anniversary or a birthday, or it's, you're in Vegas for MFO and you haven't seen the gang in a while. And so you're at a big dinner, pick a night, the 5 days that you're in Vegas to be like, I'm going to have a few drinks, but I don't have to drink every single day. So I think it has more to do with intention versus like alcohol. I don't want to bastardize alcohol. I think it just use it responsibly. We're all adults. If you say health is important to you, use it responsibly. If you say health is important to you and you're not, then that's an opportunity for you to sort of ask yourself, why am I using it this way? Because it's certainly not serving me in terms of what I'm saying my health goals are and where I want to be in my life right now.
Good question.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So last year I went through something that I gained a ton of weight out of nowhere. And as it turns out, I have hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's disease. So I've done everything. I've taken out gluten, soy, dairy, refined sugars, sodas, alcohol, you name it. I've taken it out. And I still can't seem to drop any weight. I walk every day, like 3 miles. My T3, they just changed my medication to get my T3 up a little bit, but I just don't even know.
What are you using? What do they have? What kind of medication? They have you on NP thyroid or levothyroxine?
They have me on levothyroxine, and also they just gave me Cytomel.
Cytomel. Okay. So those are two synthetic forms of they're pharmaceutical manufactured forms of thyroid medication. I would ask your doctor if they'd be open to switching you to it's a more bioavailable form called NP, N as in Nancy, P as in Peter, thyroid. NP thyroid, which it's a desiccated thyroid they actually get from animal. But it's a more effective in terms of absorption, and also the body recognizes it better. So instead of having to give you two synthetic forms, because T4 converts into T3, that's why they're giving you the levothyroxine to convert into give you more T3. You've made some really good decisions. If you've cut out gluten and you've reduced sugar, like those are important because usually thyroid dysfunction begins in the gut.
Right.
It's usually a gut dysbiosis, meaning like the gut microbiome is off. So it could be from, years of eating foods that just don't agree with you, where you develop, some bacterial overgrowth. Since you played around with your nutrition, how long has it been since you made adjustments to your nutrition?
Probably since April.
Since April. And have you noticed any change in terms of like digestion or how your gut actually feels?
I feel better. I have less inflammation and I don't feel as bloated. So that's positive.
That's key. So, I guess fixing your thyroid is one important factor in terms of weight loss, but there's other things to think about and keep in mind in terms of what's going to move the needle. Like just correcting your thyroid won't necessarily be the thing that drives the weight in the direction that you want to go. It's a good place to start. And the fact that you're feeling better digestion, inflammation's way down, like that seems to be working well for you, then that's a really good sign that, the T3 and Cytomel, those are going to move in the right direction. I think you may get a better response from NP thyroid versus those actual pharmaceutical manufactured thyroid medications. But are you doing anything for exercise?
Yeah, I was going to the gym, but then I just had like this adrenal fatigue. Like I'd fall asleep like everywhere after I went to the gym. So I've been just walking like 3 miles a day, and then I've got my dumbbells.
Well, here's something else to think about, especially with thyroid medication. And this is something that a lot of people don't know, and doctors don't necessarily give them this detail of information. Thyroid medication is very, very sensitive to absorption. So you take it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, and they'll usually give you general instructions like don't consume anything for 30 minutes or so. The real window is 60 minutes. But then beyond that 60-minute window, for about 4 hours, you have to make sure you don't consume any calcium or dairy, no iron, no magnesium, no zinc, any of those minerals anywhere near that thyroid medication for 4 hours, because that will reduce the absorption of the thyroid medication working. And so if you've experienced any type of anxiety or like mild depression alongside some of these other symptoms that you're dealing with, chances are you may be uh, reducing the efficacy because you might not be following that protocol. Like for example, if you were to have like a yogurt or if you were to have like milk in your coffee in the morning, that's calcium. You don't want that anywhere near your thyroid medication. If you're taking certain types of other minerals or vitamins like zinc, magnesium, iron, anything near within that window, that would reduce the absorption of the thyroid medication to where you're not going to get the full impact of that. And that would contribute to adrenal fatigue and what you're feeling.
Interesting.
So I don't know if that hits on the head. Maybe there's some things you are doing in there you're thinking about, but I would think that switching to the NP thyroid and then make sure that 4 hour window, like you can still in the morning, you can have, eggs and, some avocado and, sourdough toast or things like those things are all totally fine. Some protein, in the morning, but you just want to make sure you don't put any dairy or calcium anywhere near that thyroid medication within a 4 hour window. I'd be curious to know if maybe you're just not getting the full absorption of that thyroid medication because of some of those things that's leading to that adrenal fatigue. The other thing I would say is that, if you're not consuming enough food and enough calories, particularly enough protein, that also can lead to adrenal fatigue. If you're overstimulating with caffeine because you're not eating enough food throughout the day, so when your energy dips, you're drinking more coffee, you're synthetically supporting your adrenal systems. It's like putting your foot on the gas and slamming all day long. Eventually your adrenals are burned out and you just have no energy. They don't function the way they should.
Right.
Chris, thank you. What he's talking about, yeah, go ahead.
Cut you off, but this is one last thing I think is really important for everybody to consider. If you're not getting regular blood work, absolutely put it on your calendar to make sure that you're getting blood work, if not twice a year, at least once a year minimum. The equivalent of that is, if you never took your car in to get serviced every three to 5,000 miles, most people have no clue what's going on under the hood. They're walking around with symptoms left and right, or they're walking around carrying extra weight or feeling a certain way and thinking that this is normal because as I get older, this is what I'm supposed to feel, or I'm working so hard, this is what I'm supposed to feel. Blood work is king. And once you understand and know what you have going on inside your body, then you can get more targeted if something needs to be addressed. Require all my clients, not all of them do it, but it's something that I really encourage my clients to do if you really want to get underneath what's going on. And you can get much more specific with nutrition and supplementation if needed to make sure you're supporting the body in a way you don't need to be struggling and suffering. So I really encourage people to get blood work done. It's a super important part of the overall process.
So what I was going to bring up, and maybe it's a question for you, Chris, but what he's talking about in blood work is once it's done, having the right people look at it. So many of us are used to going to our medical doctors, our Western doctors, and they're going to tell you certain things, but they're functional medicine doctors that are completely different and really look at your blood work. That's what this facility here is all about. And I'm not trying to sell this facility, but the question is, if you are going to get your blood work done, you need someone to look at it. How does someone go about finding someone that understands functional medicine?
Yeah, I mean, I believe more in the hormone replacement therapists and functional medicine doctors as well as just your general practitioners. I've had, as I explained early on, from 16 even up till today, I've worked with some practitioners that are just operating off of a textbook and are missing the mark with some old school analyzation and theories. So, I mean, I think the best approach is really to look for a hormone replacement therapist. Also, the acronym is HRT doctors. You can Google them in the area. You could also look for a naturopath. The other thing that you could look at is there's a company called Function. You go to function.com and they're running a special right now, I believe. It's $4.99 for the year, and you can get 2 blood panels throughout the year, and it covers over 100 biomarkers, I believe. But the things you want to look at, your basic blood work, your white blood cell, red blood cell, livers, kidneys, blood glucose, and then looking at a full hormone panel, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, growth hormone, thyroid. Like these are all things that you want to know what's going on. We all spend so much time trying to master our cell phones and our computers and our Teslas, all of these machines and devices, but we're missing the mark when you're not learning how to master your own body. The information is generally right there in the blood work. As soon as you get the blood work back, you'll know exactly if there's something going on. If you're working with a good hormone replacement therapist, functional medicine doctor, or even Function, I think does a great job with their medical team. You know, you can make some small, easy tweaks generally that will have a massive ROI in terms of how your body looks, feels, and functions. And you might look back and think, man, I've been dealing with this for 5 to 10 years now. I can't believe I've just been sitting on it, not doing anything. I thought it was just a product of getting older. I thought this is how I was supposed to feel. It's usually not the case. So, I personally, with my clients, I analyze their blood work. I have my own practitioners that I work with, that I work with some of my clients all across the country. And at times I'll jump on Zoom calls and partner up as a team with other clients' physicians so that we can work together. And I can sometimes, fill in the gaps and kind of look for some of the areas where they might be missing the mark and having conversations. That happens quite a bit. Like, for example, in your case with the thyroid medication, if I was on a call with you and your doctor, I'd bring that up and you might be thinking, he never mentioned that to me, but it's important, and I've seen that with other clients. And as soon as I gave them that little tip, within 2 to 3 weeks, because the thyroid can shift fast, 2 to 3 weeks of getting a full 100% absorption of that thyroid medication can make a world of difference in terms of your cognitive resilience, like how you feel every day, just waking up naturally happy and feeling good because cortisol rhythm is in a good place. Versus if that thyroid is not fully absorbing, it can put you in a dark space.
Chris, thank you very much. Give him a round of applause. We'll make sure you get his contact information. We'll get it out to you after the event. If you want to talk to him one-on-one, he's happy to take a call. So, Chris, thank you. Amazing. Appreciate you being here.
Appreciate it.
So now that we learned that we can't drink or go to In-N-Out Burger, we're going to bring in Rosie Lopez.
Anthony, you want to go ahead and start?
You want to fix the screen? Hold on 1 second, Anthony.
With that organization that Chris mentioned, Function.
Oh, yeah, function.com.
Testing. There it is.
There we go. Can we make them full screen? You know how to do that? Do you need the mouse for this to go full view, or is it here? All right, we'll work with this if that's what we got. Next time we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I think, yeah. He was able to tell. I know.
We'll figure it out next time. Okay, let me get your attention really quick. Thank you. All right, listen, you guys got a great treat here. What we have coming up is the only human being in the world that exists that has seen 3.5 million leads come through his CRM, through his system. So he's seen every great lead, every shitty lead. The common thing we hear, if you're doing any kind of lead generation, whether it's you're prospecting, you're buying leads online, you're getting referred to online leads, we all call them leads, right? And I constantly hear people say these are bad leads from the group of leads they're calling. And so, very interesting study, and I don't even know if it came from you, Anthony, but there was a guy that had a ton of leads come in, and they measured the conversion rate of those leads. These were all online leads. And they were getting about a 12% return on those leads. 12% of the leads were converting, which meant of all those leads, only 12% were good leads, right? So the rest were bad leads. Well, they took all the bad leads and gave it to another group of salespeople that were very good salespeople and had them do a conversion of those. Guess what the return they got on the bad leads? 12%. So there's not bad leads, it's just how we communicate with people. It's in cadence, it's how often, what we're saying, what we're texting, emailing. Are we even communicating with them on the phone? Are we trying to just digitize them to death? So Anthony's going to give us some insight of what he's seen with all these leads come through. He owns a company called Zoocasa, which is out of Canada. They were awarded, if you know what Zillow Flex is, the only Zillow Flex account in Canada, the whole country. So he owns the whole country for Zillow. They trust him that much that instead of giving it to 500 realtors across the country, they just gave it to him. And so it's an honor to have this guy for you and hear what he knows, because he knows a lot. Anthony, I'm going to let you take it from there.
Beautiful. Thank you. So hello everybody. Nice to see all of you guys. I'm Anthony Tomasoni. I've been a licensed agent for over 15 years, and I have spent the last 12 years doing lead generation for Zoocasa and EXP General. So now I run the whole EXP Realty lead gen Canada, US, and pretty much world at this time. So we run the inside sales team for all of that, and we run the Zoocasa platform, which also I manage over 250 agents on a daily basis, providing them leads and coaching. Been doing this for a long time, seeing online leads change like no tomorrow, back from when Zillow just pretty much started to now you can get Facebook leads for $5 a lead. Ed did chime in on a little bit of lead quality. I will start off by mindset. A lot of people go into certain lead sources saying like, oh, this lead source sucks, or oh, this lead source is great. I'm assuming everyone here has a way better conversion rate on Zillow Flex than they do on Google PPC. It just is kind of what it is. That's what people will think. I tell everyone, any person you call, expect a yes. Expect a yes. Your brain has to think that. You go in thinking, oh, whatever, like I can call this person later. It doesn't really matter. They just signed up for my website, blah, blah, blah. Like people go in with that notion. I've talked to hundreds of real estate agents across the US and Canada where a lot of people's mindset is, it's a crappy lead source. Like, what can we do with that? We've taken over lead sources where the conversion rate was 6% on registrations on the website. I think industry standards at 4%. A person who registers on a website has a 4% chance of converting. Our team is over 10%. We did a bunch of tests to do that. Like if someone makes a request to go see a house, our conversion percentage is almost at 70% to appointment. Registrations were over 10%, which is well above industry norms on both of those. And it's 100% in regards to mentality and objection handling as well. I will talk a lot about the most common objections you guys will be facing on the phones. I'm assuming you guys could throw out any objection to me. I've made over 2 million calls, just myself personally, to people looking to buy or sell real estate in Canada and the US. And I've heard every objection known to. If there's any new ones, that'd be amazing because I would love to hear something new. But it's really hard to stump me. I get tested every week by our team. But the leads we deal with on our end, we deal with people who request to go take a look at houses like you would from any, like, we call them property viewing requests. If someone does that, those have the highest probability of turning into an appointment. People who register on your website, distressed sellers, signed calls. Like we get every type of lead. We technically have the biggest follow-up boss account in all of Follow Up Boss, just due to the sheer number of leads in our CRM/users. So people who are recently active on your websites, if you guys all have your own real estate websites, hopefully you guys are doing campaigns to keep people on your website and or re-engaging those people to come back to your website. Recently active people. I know that if you guys are getting Zillow Flex leads, I know Ed, you guys get a bunch of those. Those people who come back to your website, those people are active individuals. You guys should be calling them. Don't be creepy and say, like, I saw you look at this property. Go in and be like, hey, I saw a property at 123 ABC Street, one at 234 ABC Main Street, and the property they looked at. I was just checking to see if any of these, like, you've seen so far and have caught your eye. Crazy thing to do. It works wonders for us. Don't say like, hey, I saw you look at 123 BC Street. That person's going to hang up on you and be like, what? I'm not going to look at any more properties on Zillow. If you add that into it, they'll be like, oh my God, like you're a mind reader. You got something that I was actually looking at. It works really well, and it's an easy way to like get extra appointments out of people who are already in your pipeline. That's something that we do because we pretty much have like the whole population of Canada in our CRM. Very hard to get new people. We need to take from what's already in our CRM. So that's just one thing that you guys can kind of go with on that. And then questions I get all the time in regards to lead gen and how to convert these leads. I'm assuming all of you guys probably have that question. When's the best time to call your leads? Right? Everyone has that kind of question. Generally speaking, out of tests we've done, the best time statistically is between 9 and 11 a.m. your local time. Statistically speaking, it has the highest answer rate at that time, 9 to 11 a.m. And after 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. has the next amount of time. If you're calling people between like 12:30 and 2, it's the lowest statistical time of the day. You have a higher probability of answering between 8 and 8:30 p.m. where you're allowed to do that. So just as a heads up, one thing I tell every single person that gets any of our leads, if you do not block off 9 to 11 a.m. in your calendars every day to do your calls, you're not getting any more leads because then you're way too busy and you're going to become a roller coaster real estate agent. What I mean with a roller coaster real estate agent, you have 10 active people on the go right now and you have no time ever. I hear this all the time. Like, I have no time to call my leads. Number one, that's an excuse. That is a complete excuse. You have time to watch anything on TV. I'm not sure what's on TV anymore. I wish I did, but you will become one of those agents that will do 5 to 7 deals and then do nothing for 2 months. 5 to 7 deals, nothing for 2-3 months. It could be lower. Some people get very overwhelmed with 3 leads or 3 active clients. So like, depending on what you are, you need to make sure you always have your next deal kind of coming and next leads coming that way. And it's about making sure you dedicate time for lead gen. It's one of the most money-making activities that you could potentially do. People think, oh no, like showing houses is a money-making activity. Technically not. It's not a money really making activity. Getting new clients active is a very much a money-making activity. And that's something you should focus on. And all of you guys have pipelines. Make sure to hit your pipelines on a daily basis. Obviously, you're not going to call people that are looking in a year and a half today, like every day. You got to be a little bit structured with that, and that's where having a good CRM in place. Like, we use Follow Up Boss on our end. Pretty much the way I look at it, any CRM that you use is a good CRM. If you're using a Google Sheet, definitely switch to a CRM, please, because you'll be a little bit more structured. But I highly, highly, highly recommend getting that. If you could take away something today, make sure 9 to 11 a.m. every day, follow up with your leads. It is going to be one of the most important things. Another thing I like to talk about is you got a new lead. Now what? Depending on the lead source, we do different approaches. Ed did mention that we're the only Zillow Flex team in all of Canada. I think we are the only people that have had a whole country that Zillow gave us the green light for. We actually changed it from what they wanted us to do. Because we don't get the ones where it's already pre-qualified. They give us raw leads. We don't even get anything pre-qualified. They don't do that for us. They don't call us saying like, hey, this person's interested. We just get complete raw person made a request on the website direct to us. We call these leads within a minute. I know they say within 5 minutes. We call these people within a minute. Who here calls all their like requests to go see properties within a minute or 5? I see no hands up, but I'm assuming a lot of you guys are, right? If not, get into the habit of it because someone else is, just generally speaking. It is very imperative to make that appointment when you call that person for today or tomorrow. I see it all the time, and we take leads from agents that book appointments in, like today is Wednesday. If you book an appointment in for Saturday, someone's going to potentially beat you into showing that property. Has that happened to anyone here where you booked an appointment on like a Tuesday for a Saturday and they already saw the property before you had a chance to do it? I love the energy in the room. Let's go. If I was live, I'd be pacing back and forth and trying to get people's energies up. So,
Let me ask Anthony, just so we can get the room participating. Has anybody ever set an appointment with a lead and then they bought through somebody else very shortly after?
Yeah.
Yes, Anthony.
perfect. Stop that. What you guys need to do, the way you would script this is like, I'm assuming a lot of you guys are just using the ALM model and just doing the very classic scripts. I'll talk a little bit about scripting as well shortly. I know I'm not going to have that much time remaining, but when you're setting up your appointment, be like, hey, are you free tonight at 6 p.m. to take a look at this property or tomorrow at 4? Only 2 options. People generally choose the better of 2 evils. I know people will say like, oh, is tonight at around or tomorrow at 4 good for you? Or how's Sunday at around like noon? They do times that work for them. We're all in real estate. We're in customer service at the end of the day and slash sales. We need to make sure that today is the best day to show a house always to these people. Because if not, this person made a request on Zillow, Redfin, and a bunch of other like a random real estate agent in their area's website. Someone there is going to book them in ASAP. You need to be the one that always books ASAP and make sure you know your calendar. Just make sure so you don't overbook yourself. I've done that before, which don't do that. So make sure to book today, tomorrow, and kind of keep it that way. The easiest way to script it is better 2 evils today, tomorrow. And it works on a mass scale. Like it works for us at like a 95% of the time. There's 5% that people actually physically cannot just go take a look at that property, and we have to book it a little bit further than 2 days. But the drop rate on those appointments is actually staggeringly high. Appointments today get capped at around almost like a 95% rate. Ones tomorrow are at 80%. Ones more than 2 days out drop below 50%. It's crazy when you think of it. 50% of the appointments you'll book more than 2 days out are canceling. And this is on like we've qualified in the past month, we've qualified over 8,000 leads to appointments. Like it's big numbers. So like, there's no like real like the deviation aspect is a lot lower. So like on a mass scale, that's what would happen. And one thing you'll hear on the phone, how many of you guys have gotten the objection? I'm just in a meeting. Can you call me back?
Me.
Yeah. What do you guys call people back?
Yeah.
Hey, stop that. We're all gonna stop that. We're not gonna get them off the phone now. This is the biggest objection in real estate that I've seen, and I've talked to a bunch of agents. This is the biggest objection you will face in real estate is, oh, I'm just about to get into a meeting, or like, oh, I'm busy. Can you call me back later? A lot of people would be like, okay, perfect. What time should I call you back? The easiest way to overcome this is acknowledge that objection, ignore it, and continue. It sounds crazy, but like if you said like, "Hey, Anthony," or you're like, "I'm just in a meeting. Can you call me back later?" Be like, "I totally understand. This would just take about a minute," and continue talking. Be like, "I know you were looking at 123 BC Street, and I wanted to make sure that we are able to go take a look at this. Are you free tonight at around 4, tomorrow at 6?" What I do is I do pick up my pace in which I speak. So I do. It shows a little bit of respect. Like I do understand that you're busy. I will pick up my speed. You guys add this to your arsenal. The acknowledge, ignore, continue. The amount of phone calls you'll have that go over that 2 minute mark will go crazy. I'm assuming a lot of you guys who do that call back at, oh, call me at 6. The odds of that person picking up is quite low because they know, first off, you're a very scary individual. You're going to sell them one of the most expensive things they will ever purchase in their life. Easy to ignore you because they know your number now. Very easy to ignore you.
I want to give, Anthony, I want to just give proof of concept because this is actually, it's ringing so true for me. The best person I know at this is my mother-in-law. I say I gotta go, and she goes, okay, and then she keeps going, and you can't hang up on her. And I just sit there and listen. I'll be home after 6, and like we can talk then. Yeah, okay, but I made this bread the other day, and I want to tell you about it. It's just nonstop. It just rings really, really true. People, if you take control, they will let you. And I think the mistake we all make is we think we're doing good customer service by just agreeing to whatever they want. And it's usually a mistake. So I love this take control part.
Very much so. People generally are good-natured and they won't hang up on you. Based on the amount of calls we do, each of my ISAs do about between 500 and 700 calls each per day. They get hung up on maybe once or twice a day. It's not that common. People go in with a mindset. This is why I started with mindset is expect the yes. People go in with a mindset of, oh, this is going to be bad. I'm assuming everyone here, myself included, have people in your pipeline that you're scared to call. Where you're like, oh, I did a bad job following up with this person. Like, they don't want to hear from me. That person does not remember you most likely. Just as a heads up, don't be scared. Press call. I saw someone with their hand up.
Yeah, me. I have a question. When you said your people don't get hung up on, when I'm like circle dialing, I get hung up all the time. It's not like I've learned you just continue going.
Oh yeah.
But I was like, click, next, click. Like I've gotten hung up multiple times this morning. So are you
are you cold calling?
I have a question. Are your ISA people following up with people that are interested in properties, or are they just cold calling?
So it's not as much cold calling. Like we have contracts with companies like Zillow, Realtor Concierge, Orchard. Like we have a lot of contracts, and we generate these leads and give it to EXP agents. So we do it on like a mass scale, and it's a little bit different just due to the fact that we don't cold call. I have cold called. I've been on a 6-line motor dialer, just dialing. Obviously, when you're cold calling or like calling expireds or something like that, you have a higher probability because everyone's calling those exact same people. So like the probability is higher. But people in your pipelines, like anyone you have in your pipeline, any lead you've ever gotten, the probability of them like hanging up on you is relatively low, or someone who's shown a bit of interest.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's like warm leads. Yeah.
Warmish leads, yeah. Like you can give me a list of 1,000 people that you got from Facebook. Let's say you spent $5,000 on Facebook leads. Like I'm assuming out of those 5,000, I might get 10 hangups. I could probably get through, if I'm using like a dialer system, I could probably get through them in a day and a half, maybe 2 days. Yeah. But it's okay. Yeah, so if you're cold calling, you're going to get hung up on and told off a lot more than if you're dealing with like any other kind of lead source. But yeah, so hopefully that makes sense. But
so you're referring to warmer leads.
Warmer leads, yeah. even
Yeah.
like people that have been in our pipeline for like 5+ years, that like we do re-engagement on Zoocasa where we're trying to get people back to our website. Second people come back to our website, we are going to re-engage them. Like a lot of these people have not been in contact for maybe a year because we have so many people in our pipeline. Like there will be people that have not been reached out to. They weren't active on our website. They never shown real intent until they've come back. So like we do re-engage with them even though they've shown no interest in anything. We do multiple ways of doing this. We can pretend like they made a mistake and requested to go see a property on our website. If you see what they're looking at on the website, you could actually say like, "Hey, you actually click to take a look at property at 123 C Street. Just check and see if you have time tonight." It's a little sneaky to do, but we're in a sneaky industry, so that's one way of kind of going about it. But yeah, so it's a little bit warmer than cold calling or calling expireds.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. And one thing I tell everyone to do is kind of dig deep. I try my best not to go crazy deep because you don't want to get too much, because when you're in person you can get a little bit deeper. But when you're asking people questions like, hey, what area are you mainly looking in? I'm looking in Sacramento. Okay, perfect. Is there any pockets of Sacramento you're mainly looking in? Oh, perfect. Why are you looking in that pocket? Or is everyone doing that, trying to go 3 deep on each question? This is something we make sure each of our agents do, and our ISAs. We need to make sure we go 3 deep. Every question you ask someone, you need to keep going 3 deep. And there's like 5 main questions that like we will go 3 deep on. And the number one thing is like, tell me about your perfect place. Tell me about your perfect location. Tell me about your perfect timeline. Tell me about your perfect budget. And is there anything you're afraid of? Those are the ones we are going to ask. And other things we do ask, we do ask people. I know we do something that you shouldn't really do. Our ALM script is ALMA. We ask about an agent at the end for ourselves. It's not everyone should be doing this, but I'm not like asking, hey, are you currently working with a realtor? This is a question a lot of people do ask people, and people ask this at the beginning of a phone call. Don't ask that question at the beginning of a phone call. It's an easy way to get yourself hung up on, basically, by...
Anthony, let me stop you for, I'm gonna jump in. Just not everyone knows ALM if they're not on a Zillow Flex team. So you want to explain ALM really quick? Take us through a quick role play.
Yeah, for sure. So like ALM is appointment, location, motivation. This is the most common script, and I would say this is potentially the script to use if you were to be calling people. You need to book the appointment, find out about the location that they're looking in, and then why are they looking for a property, basically. We add agent at the end. I know on Flex teams, you're not allowed really asking about an agent. We do this with a lot of our other lead sources because we do get quite a few leads. So we do ask, are they working with an agent? We don't ask them verbatim, are you looking for working with an agent? We ask them, hey, have you been able to go take a look at a property so far during your search? No, I haven't. Okay, perfect. I assume you're not working with an agent. Or if they say yes, be like, okay, perfect. Were you going to open houses or private showings? Oh, open houses. Okay, perfect. I assume you're not working with any agents. Or if they say, yeah, I've been on private showings, then you ask, are you currently working with an agent? So it's a kind of a ladder approach to get to that question and making assumptions. It's an easier way to ask and get truthful answers because it's an easy way to get yourself hung up on that way. So I'm not sure how much time I have left, Ed.
You
But,
keep going.
Keep going. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you guys just a couple of quick tips before I open the floor to kind of questions. You guys can ask me anything in regards to lead gen too. I'm going to bring up 2 things that I feel like are the most important things for lead gen. You spend money to get leads. You spend time to book appointments. And then you lose the person. How many of you guys are booking your next appointment with the client face to face? You showed them a property. Do you book your next appointment?
So he's talking about you're on the appointment, you're showing property. They don't want the house. He's asking how many, by showing hands, book the next appointment right there when you're at you're done showing.
I see a couple hands.
4%.
12% of people in there. Perfect. Keep doing that. This is the easiest way. You need to beat your clients down. It's going to sound bad, actually, but you need to beat your clients down with showings. Some people think you're on an episode of House Hunters where you're going to go look at a house once every like 2-3 weeks and it's going to be all fun. Oh, why didn't you show me 3 houses? Blah, blah, blah. You need to show them houses at least twice a week in order to get them in and out of your pipeline. You need to make sure when you meet someone face to face, the hardest thing for someone to do is reject someone face to face. It is very hard, especially when you just provided them value by like showing them a property, going there prepared. Make sure that you are asking them, hey, let's say you're showing a house on a Saturday. Hey, most listings are popping up on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Why don't I book us in tentatively on Tuesday at around 5 or Wednesday at around 6? So that way we don't miss out on any new properties that pop up. What day works better for you? And then on Tuesday or Wednesday, when you meet with that person, be like, hey, there should be some more properties that will pop up over the next couple of days. Why don't I tentatively book us in for Friday at around 4 or Saturday at around 11 a.m.? Which one works better for you? You keep these people in this never-ending cycle of showings, they will buy houses. They're not going to be able to go to a different agent because they're already like kind of married to you. Obviously, you're going to have them under contract and you're just going to continuously book them into showings. If there's nothing to show them or they're looking for something very specific, becomes a little harder. But just in general, one of the easiest things to do and add to your repertoire in order to make a lot more money. Next thing to do is a lot of agents forget to ask people if they want to buy that house. I've coached over 2,000 agents over the past couple years. I'd say over the last like 5 years, it's been about 2,000 agents I have coached. One of the things, the most common thing is people do not ask people, do you want to buy this house? Easiest way to do it, if you don't want to feel like a sleazy real estate agent and say like, hey, you want to buy this house? Play a game with everyone. Be like, hey, rate the scale on a 1 to 10. I acknowledge, I do this at the beginning. Anytime I meet any client, I make sure that I let them know anything that you rate 8 or above is an offer. So it's a little game we play. And I'm one of those people where if they give it a 7 and I have like a printout of that listing, I'm crumpling it up. Like, perfect. This property no longer exists. On to the next one. The amount of times I've crumpled up paper and then people change their mind and say like, oh no, this one's an 8. Like we should put an offer in. It's a visual effect that messes with people's mind and works really well. But on that note, I'm not sure if anyone has any questions for me. Or if Ed, you have any questions for me.
Yeah, you had a hand up. Anybody else? Body? You had a.
So once they hang up on you, do you call them back or what do you do?
Oh, when I get hung up on, I call them back immediately. I'm like, hey, sorry, the phone got disconnected there. I just wanted to continue. It sounds funny. The amount of people, like the people that are most likely to hang up on you are salespeople, and they will respect that.
Go ahead.
It doesn't work 100% of the time. It maybe works 10% of the time, but like 10% is better than 0.
So kind of building upon what you were saying, how you're doing more cold calls, are there any tips that you have for the more like truly cold calls to kind of maybe lower that hang up rate?
No, keep it up. Get used to rejection. Get used to rejection, and it's a numbers game. If you're cold calling, like it is a numbers game. Like you're gonna be making thousands of dials.
That's a great answer, but I'm gonna say that if you really want to improve the results from cold calling, you have to set up the reason you're cold calling first, right? So if you're doing geographic calling, let's say you're calling around a specific neighborhood, and that's your choice, then have a reason for calling that person that's valid to them, right? So it can be the basic Mike Ferry script. I just saw a home listed down the street from you, and we know when a house like that goes up for sale, 3 more sell almost every single time in a neighborhood. So I was wondering when you plan on moving, right? So that's very specific to that neighborhood. If you're doing niche marketing, right? So you're cold calling divorce attorneys or lawyers or old people or tear downs or whatever that is, then you get more niche, you're going to have better conversations. When you're really, if you're calling, the best thing to call for really is a buyer. So you have a buyer, you have nothing to sell, and you're calling this entire neighborhood, hey, I'm working with Sally and Bill, and I can't find them a home. And I was just wondering if you might consider selling yours, right? That's a real conversation. They can smell a cold call. If you're calling without a purpose, they do want to hang up. Like, who doesn't? How many do we get every day? I'm getting used to hanging up on people now. It's kind of fun. So, but I would just say if you're calling with a purpose, that dramatically changes everything.
Question back there.
The broker agreements, like when do you talk about that on the phone? Do you bring it in person? Like I've tried it both ways, it's kind of awkward.
Anthony, what's your answer on broker agreements?
I do that in person. It's easy for me to like I go in, my sales technique is humor. I try to like make it light of it. In the market that I work in, we have this thing called Tressa. This is in Toronto. We need to have, in order to show any house to anyone, this is for the buyer side, we need to get them to sign an agreement before we open a door to any property. No matter what. If we don't, we get fined up to $50,000. They're really harsh on us. It's generally a $50,000 fine if you get caught by anyone. So you need to get it signed. And I do this in person by, first off, I have my own like little sales pitch, saying like, hey, like this is just for this property. I do one property and then I do an overarching one if they're a good fit for me. A lot of you guys, I believe you guys have something similar there where you're signing them onto a contract.
Yeah, I'll talk about ours, what I do. So it depends. Like I'm judging the conversation I'm having with the person on the phone. If it's pretty smooth, I may say, you know what, we have to sign a form before we go see a house. I'm just going to DocuSign it. Does that sound good? And they're like, yeah, okay. And then they sign it. Well, I'm good. If they don't sign it or they bring up an objection at that point, I'm backing off. Okay? I hear agents all the time say, well, you have to sign it or I can't show you the house. You need to give someone a reason to sign it that has nothing to do with you. If it's about you because you have to have it signed, they don't want to sign. And people legitimately say, and I hear these on the calls, well, I'm not going to sign a contract with you. I don't even know who you are, right? They're committing to a $2 or $3 or $4 million house, and you're asking them to sign a contract like you're hiring a lawyer. Like, why should they? You need to be able to do a presentation with them, whatever your buyer presentation is, to show the value you are giving your clients and say, listen, you know what, why don't we go through, and you can go through anything. You can go through an agency disclosure form, go through a real estate purchase contract and show them what an inspection contingency clause says. Or show them the 3 to 5 things that are special about you that you do for your clients that maybe you think others don't do. What does your after sales service look like? Are you talking about that? And so now they got a sense of who you are as a person and what value you're bringing them that hit their pain points, right? What's important to them? Because that's what you have to discover, right? Your best presentation is probably less about what you are doing, but discovering what their issues are. And so asking great questions on those presentations about what's going on with them, what's important about a house. Have you ever gone through an inspection and went sideways? Tell me more about that. And you're really dialing into their heads. And then you ask them to sign. It's very, very simple. So those are my 2 ways in the USA.
Yeah, like here, just as a heads up, like I meet and we book our appointments at coffee shops. So prior to showing a house, we meet someone at a coffee shop, buy them a coffee, and do our buyer consultation. So that way we can provide some value. It sounds very similar to what Ed does. So I'm assuming Ed knows California way better than I do. I've never been there, so I want to go though. I heard Disneyland's beautiful.
More questions? You only got them for a few minutes. Go ahead, Elena.
Do you follow up with a lead before you drop them? Like if it's a brand new lead that just registered, how many times do you try them and per day and how many days?
What's your cadence?
This is the question I was waiting for. So if there's 2 options. If someone makes a request to go take a look at a house, we call them 3 times on the first day, 3 times on the second day, and then daily for the next 21 days. You're going to be like, wow, you're annoying that person. So Zillow did not want us to do this in Canada. They did not want us to do this, and we went to their method for Canada. And they quickly backtracked on that and like, go back to what you were doing. So like, whatever you're doing is working. And just as a heads up to you, they changed something on their end just because of the statistics we were able to provide. But we call them immediately within a minute. Every time, like, we have smart lists in our CRM that in follow-up us that once it goes from 0 to 1, if one of my ISAs have not called that lead within a minute, I get notified of it and they're in trouble. Like, that lead needs to be called immediately. We have multiple people paying attention, and if you guys are getting leads, you should be paying attention as well. You get on your phone, you get it, and you're everywhere. Call that person immediately. If they don't answer, we call again in about 3 to 4 hours. We have smart lists that refresh every 3 hours because last call more than 3 hours ago. Then we call again 3 hours later, and that happens for the first 2 days. So the first 2 days is a lot of phone calls. You need to do it. The drop off after day 2 is big. That's why we only call once after that. So that's for if someone requests to go take a look at a house. If someone registers for a website, when do you think the first time we call them is? I'm going to tell you something crazy. We don't call that person for exactly 24 hours. This works well for us. This is people who register on Zoocasa.com. We don't call that person for exactly 24 hours. We did tests with like every hour interval because we were averaging around like 6.5% conversion rate, 6 to 6.5%. At the 24-hour mark, on like the pretty much on the minute, we know they're available generally at that time, and we gave them a chance to use our website and things like that. We have a conversion rate of just over 10%. So it's getting closer to like 11.5, almost 12% on registrations to appointment. Not like registration to like call me again in 6 months. It's, hey, it's a registration. They're willing to sit down for a buyer consultation, either over Zoom or something like this, or they're willing to go meet at a coffee shop near their house, or they were willing to have someone go to their property if they were looking to sell. It's a little bit crazy. I don't recommend it to everyone. If that's your only source of income, you could do a couple tests and see how it works out for you. For us, we've tested this in the US and in Canada, and it works the exact same for us, 24 hours on the. This is only for registrations. Only for registrations. That's it. I'm gonna like preface that. But we did a test with like almost 400,000 leads.
Anthony, share your philosophy on when or when not to email with these new leads.
Yeah, we do not email anyone who requests to go take a look at a house or registers on our website for at least the first 4 days. First 4 days, they're not getting a single email from us. They'll get a text message. We'll send them a text. We do not want to go down an email path of communication. If you have leads that go down the email path of communication, it's the lowest form of communication. Don't leave voicemails. Don't do anything like that. Call the person. We call twice before we leave a text message, depending on what we're calling. If we're calling people like distressed sellers, we're going to send a text message after the first call, mainly due to the fact we want to stay like, hey, we're not a creditor trying to like collect from you. So we do not email for the first 4 days, because if that becomes the way of communication with someone, that becomes a gigantic problem for us and the agent. It's a very slow way of communication, and we don't want people to think that's a normal way that we communicate. I have no problem communicating over the phone. We're okay via text message. It's a little bit faster response times than an email. That could a 1 minute phone call could be a 7-day email campaign where you're talking back and forth. We have our drip campaigns running after day 21 on our system. We do not really like hit them hard prior to that, because we're not just fishing. These are people that we should be getting on the phone. Yeah, but email's the lowest form of communication. Never start off with an email, because then people respond to you via email. You're going to have an email client. Anyone here who has email clients knows how slow they are. You probably all have email clients that have been in your pipeline for a year. It just is what it is.
Anthony, I want to thank you. First of all, give him a round of applause. We're going to wrap this up. Can you get the exit survey up? Thanks, Anthony, for everything you're doing and discovering all these secrets for us. We appreciate it. He's going to get me some of these scripts. So if you registered for this event, we will get that information out to you. Two last things for today. I'm going to give you a day pass for here. If you guys want to use it, use it. There's an expiration date on here, and I'm going to tell you why. I was told if you put an expiration date on something, it seems more valuable. If you can't make it by the expiration date, I made it up so you can just skip that. Because it's August 15th or something, so which is happening fast. But it's really, this is the most state-of-the-art health and wellness center that exists in the South Bay for sure. These are popping up in Miami. I don't know if they're in LA yet. This is the first one. This was built by the founder of Whole Foods. That's who started this. So back behind the walls are hyperbaric chambers, PEMF machines, Pilates studio. There's a whole wellness center in the back that has these zero gravity beds you can just lay in, red light therapy beds, cold plunges, all that stuff. So it's worth just walking around and check it out. So if you want to do that, we'll do that right at 1:30 in a couple of minutes, and you guys can go look around. No one's going to try to sell you anything. It's just a free tour. Can you all take out your phone?
Yeah.
Really quick, and just a couple questions to fill out for me. Just trying to understand if we're getting the right content to you. So just scan that QR code. Is it working? Of course it is. Yeah, and let's give Rosie a round of applause. She made sure the food was here, the room was set up, the TV's working. Thank you.
And if you make sure that you guys fill this out, so if you guys, I know a lot of questions to get more information about the next one. It's going to be August 20th, same time, same place. So make sure you fill that out.
And I'm working hard to get people here live and not on Zoom. It's not the goal, but I love both these guys so much. I just thought I wanted to grab them when I could. But we'll have people that work here kind of come and speak on very specific topics. I'm going to do an all women's one on women's health coming up very soon as well. So watch out for that one. I know it's a big topic for a lot of people right now. What do you say, Jackie? I can leave the room. It gets too personal. I don't want to hear any of that crap.
Wear your heels in your dress.
Cindy can come. So with that, I want to thank you all for being here. Once you finish filling that out, Rosie will hand you the day pass, and then just mingle just right past that sign right there if you guys want to do a tour. Do they know?
Yeah, I just said it.
Okay.
Like 2-3 minutes. They should be done.
Awesome. Thank you.